So then they said, Vein Ripper? I hardly know her. I don't know. That's our opening bit. That's what I got.
Let's go over to the Crew3 podcast. Your host, Rock as always, are my co-hosts, Chris and Ricky. Gentlemen, say hello.
Hey.
We're keeping that?
How's
it going? All right.
All right, we are hot off the press of a very, very exciting Pro Tour weekend, of course. If you haven't seen them, Chris and I did daily recaps over on our YouTube channel, so youtube.com/Crew3MTG, to watch some day 1 and day 2 recaps. Yep. We're, of course, going to retread some of that, because now we got Ricky over here. And unfortunately, we didn't decide we'll stream finals, but they were a good one to watch. Thanks to the match before making, what was that, a 7-game top 8 match?
Yep.
With the Amalia versus Boris heroic resets.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I was glad to see happen. I wish we would have gone a little longer because I wanted to have final start in the Waffle House because we had to close the convention center down.
Right. A classic.
Yeah, I mean, based on what I've seen, though, not only was the Pro Tour wild, but finding a chance to play on a table was wild because they oversold the venue. So I talked to Servo, right? I talked to Darren, and he was like, even after they brought out additional tables and seating and had all this other space, there were still a lot of people playing on the floor, like commander pods on the floor. Right. They also turned the free play area that you were supposed to get access to for playing your $100 ticket for the weekend into half that play area was now for vouchered events only. Of course, they sold out of those voucher events day 1.
Nice.
I think commander players yearn for the floor.
Yeah, they're just like Melty Blood players. They'll play anywhere.
Right, exactly. You know, the children long for the mines. You know.
Yeah. They want the whipping branch.
I will say, one of my friends of the show, viewers of the show, pointed out that you, Ruckman, complained about a $150 standard event. Well, I guess you're not alone because the event lost money.
Oof.
The math has been done, and it gave out $75,000 worth of cash prizes, money in hand. And with the $150 entry fees, they only made back like $73,000.
Oh.
Plus paying judges. The event is a loss.
Well, it's all marketing expense anyway. So really, it's
also, they had so few people playing in it as to what was expected that it paid down to 96th place. But only the top 64 made it to day 2.
Right.
Oh.
Because it was, it was a old GP, like after 10 rounds,
sure,
all X3s or 64th place or the top 64, right? And there weren't enough X3s.
Oh, wow.
So people did not make day 2 and cashed.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's value.
Half the work, twice the pay, you know?
Yeah, wow.
That's our motto here at Crew3 Podcast, you know?
But yeah, I mean, all in all, I heard it was a pretty good time at the event. What was I was going to say something else. So that
especially if you're one of the people screaming at the Commander podcast Live thing.
Yeah,
Live. Apparently, it was getting raunchy over there.
I will say also, allegedly, when we go to DreamHack, right? They check your wristband and everything like that. They check your badge. Darren was saying that they just weren't checking badges, so who knows how many people actually in the venue actually paid to get in.
I mean, once I saw people sitting on the floor, they were probably like, this is a joke. Let's just...
I saw the line to meet and greet with Brian Kibler, which was huge. Right?
I would wait in that line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to let you know, if you would wait in that line, Chris, you need to get to the RCQs. Because Brian Kibler was at RC Denver playing live Commander and signing everything you could bring him to sign, and there was no line. People just went up and talked to him. He's a great guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I said hi, right?
I've talked to him before.
I'm just saying, like, go to the actual competitive events, and there's no line to see Brian Kibler, which is sort of a shame, honestly. There should be a line just following that man.
I miss the old GP tradition of finding where the pros were playing the pro player card game just listening to them like just talk all the mess about each other.
Right.
Funny.
Yeah, what were you gonna say?
I was just saying, like, I thought it was just hilarious, just like the whole event. I saw, not the Pro Tour. The Pro Tour was cool. But the Pro Tour, of course, right, is the DJ Khaled now. You know, it's now Magic Fest featuring the Pro Tour, right? It's now Game Nights Live featuring the Magic Pro Tour. You know, as a side event,
featuring Magic the Gathering.
Right. You know, so I'm glad people had fun though.
Yeah.
However you want to spend your weekend, and however much you want to spend on it, that's up to you. And I'm glad you had fun.
You didn't have to pay an entry fee to get into the venue.
Yeah, the secret ingredient is always crime. So
yeah. Speaking of crimes, we have spoilers to talk about because, of course, we got our first looks at Outlaws of Thunder Junction and Bloomborough.
Modern Horizons 77.
And epilogue boosters featuring Assassin's Creed.
Dude, the Assassin's Creed card. Oh, God.
Oh, man. Da Vinci's a 3/3 and can beat a bear?
Of course. I always knew that man was strong.
All right, so we're going to talk spoilers real quick. We're going to talk about first looks, and then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the Pioneer meta, the Pro Tour, and everything good after that. So let's talk about it. We're going to start off with Outlaws of Thunder Junction. We got to look at some spoiler cards. We got to look at the basic lands, which I am disappointed in.
I'm dying. They're the best.
Look, the Plains is the best one. The Forest is pretty solid. The rest of them, I don't get Cowboy. They're not great.
There's a wagon train in the island. It's beautiful.
No, they're not good. They're not what I was expecting.
They're amazing.
They're not good. They're not good.
Buying 100.
I'm with you in that.
I will trade you all my Cowboy lands for your LCI full arts.
My LCI?
Your Lost Cavern.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. Right, the QR code lands?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like it. And then I'm going to hold out for Bloomborough after that.
All right.
So, so we have Outlaws Thunder Junction, the new mechanic Crime, which just codifies, hey, if you target your opponent, anything they own, or attack your opponent anyway, you've committed a crime. That's right. We've now confirmed that if you try to do anything to my board, that's a crime, and I will call the police.
That's exactly right. Straight to jail.
Look, all I'm saying is that we all know that touching is against the law, right?
Yeah.
And I see a lot of lawbreakers out here tonight, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So something to talk about with Thunder Junction, of course, we are going to have a bonus sheet that is in every pack, similar to what we had with Mob Legendaries to Strixhaven spells, right? With just cards that are crimes, including a sick Thoughtseize reprint.
They are so cool.
The Thoughtseize has me going. I'll do Brett Favre levels of crime in order to get those Thoughtseizes, because
especially the textured ones.
The crime breaking news border is way better than the. I'm going to be honest. We saw like the mock-up of the wanted posters early on, like last year or something like that, right? The mock-ups with the playing card showcase design, I like a lot better than the wanted poster.
No.
Yeah.
The playing card design look way worse and way more confusing. I love the wanted poster. The wanted poster is my love of Westerns and my love of One Piece, like this.
I just don't think they're good.
It's okay to be wrong.
Yeah, and you are wrong because we're going to get to it.
And subjectively,
and Bloomborough is the better set. The other thing we need to talk about is, like we mentioned previously, the Outlaws of Thunder Junction was supposed to have an epilogue set, and they said, "Ooh!" They saw the commander, the presser's video early, where he tried to booster box game $40 and only made $20 on a box of epilogue boosters. So they threw those out the window. And so they took some amount of cards from those epilogue boosters, which apparently are essentially the loot that Oko's crew gets after the heist, and shoved those into the special guest slot of the booster packs.
I'm all about it. That's what they should have done with the original Aftermath. They should have just
but no. With the original Aftermath, we talked about them having a dedicated slot. With this, they're like getting a list card. So these are going to be so hard to find, which is important because as we've seen, Sword of Wealth and Power, which will be standard legal, which will be pioneer legal, looks very, very good. So having these cards at like list level rarity, I think is very worrying.
I think that we don't know until we open the packs.
Uh-huh.
And any speculation until the packs are in hands is hearsay. And in this court of law, I think they're going to be more abundant than you think.
Based on the odds they've talked about, I do not agree. Regardless, though, we do have new cards to talk about from the set. So let's talk about these real quick.
Well, we've got a couple of new cards to talk about from the new set.
Yeah, that's fine. So let's talk about them.
All right.
So we're going to start off with Oko the Ringleader. 2 green-blue for a 3 loyalty planeswalker Oko. With the static ability, at the beginning of combat on your turn, Oko the Ringleader becomes a copy of up to 1 target creature you control until end of turn, except he has hexproof. Now, everyone, I'm going to tell you right now, make sure you use Oko's loyalty abilities before you go to combat, because if you go to combat and copy a creature, the way he is currently templated, he will not have planeswalker abilities afterwards.
Right.
So make sure you use them before you go to combat. However, don't remind your opponent.
I think that ability on its own is very powerful, I think.
It's very strong, for sure. The other abilities are +1, draw 2 cards. If you've committed a crime this turn, discard a card, otherwise discard 2 cards. -1, create a 3/3 green elk creature token. And then -5? For each other non-land permanent you control, create a token that's a copy of that permanent.
I'm going to tell you right now, this card's insane.
Yeah, pretty good.
I just want to comment that it's very hilarious to me that Oko can now become the elk
that he makes.
Right. That he makes. So he do the elkin, and now he be the elk. You know,
4 years later, they finally make Oko's second ability a -1.
Right.
Did Alchemy do it first, though?
I don't think Alchemy even touched Oko. I don't think they tried. They were just like, never mind.
Oko doesn't exist. Next up, we have Tiny Bones to Pickpocket, or single black, a legendary creature, skeleton rogue. It's 1/1 death touch. Whenever Tiny Bones to Pickpocket deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target non-land permanent card from that player's graveyard, and mana of any type of that can be spent to cast that spell.
This is 1 mana.
It is 1 mana.
Literally as cheap as it can cost.
It's Ragavan. We have Ragavan too.
It is not Ragavan.
Ricky, I'm pretty sure if you look at this card and squint hard enough, it's Ragavan in a cowboy hat.
This card is decent. I don't think it's going to be very good. It is a rogue.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's its saving grace, is that it's a rogue, and rogues sure do love knocking cards into our opponent's graveyard.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just sick with Thoughtseize. I mean, we don't need to get cute with this, right? We just Thoughtseize our opponent, or better yet, honestly, our opponent Thoughtseizes us after we played this turn 1.
Yeah.
And Rutro, you better hope you take my Thoughtseize. And even if you do, right, like, I'm still going to Thoughtseize you back.
In what universe are we like turn 1 Tiny Bones, and our opponent is just like play a land, pass, and then we like Thoughtseize them, take their Thoughtseize, attack them for 1, and then Thoughtseize them a second time. Like, there's no universe. Like, they're going to
universe. My universe, Ricky.
Here's the other thing.
The one that I live in.
Here's the other good thing with Tiny Bones. Combos with Delmy, making him unblockable by bigger creatures, and we get 2 triggers.
Ooh, wow, can't argue with that. I mean, listen, again, we don't need our opponent to Thoughtseize. We can still just Thoughtseize something of theirs to the yard, right? I mean, we're
also going first, so we're Thoughtseizing them turn 1 and taking their Thoughtseize.
No, because now we're going to have Tiny Bones.
That's right.
That's okay. We don't need. Look, you don't have to always run your Thoughtseizes back to back. Sometimes you got to let your opponent grow their hand a little more, get some more information. Right?
You need the top of the deck to be in their hands so that you can effectively Thoughtseize.
We see it with the Pro Tour that if you really got to know how to properly time out your hand disruption spells, you can't be firing off those Thoughtseizes willy nilly.
That's right. That's right.
So the cards we got spoiled. Oh, go ahead.
We also have Hell to Pay.
Hell to Pay.
Red X sorcery, deal X damage to target creature. and create a number of tapped treasure tokens equal to the amount of excess damage dealt to that creature this way.
Crimes.
Exciting. Lots of treasure.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what we do after that.
I love that we can do, if we just, X is 0, we can still commit a crime by looking at a creature.
Right. I like that we're not allowed to show a gun, but we are allowed to show somebody just blasting away at somebody.
Yeah. We have these weird lightning gun things that are two guns.
As long as the gun is like a halo weapon,
yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of art we have cards for, though, how sick is that Rakdos art with the bandolier of burning whatever? Like,
yeah, a bandolier of bullets for no guns.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I love it a lot, actually.
I did like, I forget who tweeted it out, but they were just like, wow, Rakdos leaves Ravnica, decides just to become the goon of a gang of outlaws. Ravnica is just the most cooperative plane ever.
He obtains a belt buckle with his own cult symbol on it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but he's wearing a belt with a Rakdos signet as the belt buckle. And that is swag. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I also want to say, as cool as the Thoughtseize is with the newspaper headline, the textured foil looks even cooler.
The full art does look good.
With the typewriter type line. Oh, it's so good.
All right, we also have Sword of Wealth and Power, like we talked about. This is our first look at what's going to be in the big score. Sword of Wealth and Power is a 3-mana sword. Equip creatures +2/+2. It has protection for instants and sorceries, immediately making this the best sword ever, no matter what the rest of the card says.
Right. This is pretty nuts.
Now, whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. When you next cast an instant sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell, you may choose new targets to that copy.
Time.
Yeah.
About time, you know? We equip this, we attack. You know, we make a treasure token.
This just makes a Ragavan.
And then we use that treasure token to double Thoughtseize our opponent.
That's right. Because you know who's holding this? Tiny Bones.
Tiny Bones. He's Big Bones after that. I'm going to tell you that much. However, he ain't Tiny Bones anymore.
You cannot use this to cast fight spells at your creature holding the sword.
No, because it's protection.
True.
Yeah.
Protection.
So. And then, of course, our last card, Fibblethip Lost. Oh, poor buddy. Fibblethip lost the range. 1 blue for legendary creature Homunculus. 1/1 with Ward 2. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. The top card of your library has Plot. The plot cost is equal to its mana cost. You may plot non-land cards from the top of your library. So we don't know what Plot is yet, but I'm going to guess.
Does he have free running black?
What?
Does he have free running black?
No, he's not an Assassin's Creed character.
Yeah. I'm going to guess Plot is a retread of Suspend. What do you guys think?
It feels like some sort of... I think that Plot cards... All right, here's big brains, right?
Is it Suspend or Foretell?
Plot cards lets you put cards down as lands.
But you plot cost.
Yeah, you pay a cost to play them as a land.
Okay, all right.
It's wild. It sounds.
But this is the Wild Wild West. Jim West, Desperado.
Better. So, like, exactly, because it's Wild West, right? And we're plotting land, right? Not. So I'm reading it as plot, as in we're settling land, right?
Okay.
Not as in we're planning big schemes.
But this is Ocean's 11.
Sure, but this guy does not look like he is committing crimes. This guy looks like he just wants to settle down and be a little less lost.
Get away from the Godzilla fight happening behind him.
Yeah. I don't know. This could do anything. It could be Tramboline for all I care.
Yeah.
I don't like this way of spoiling cards where they show me some card that is a rare, so it has no text on it.
They told us what Crime did, though, and that was nice.
It was nice. Otherwise, Oko also doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
They did that with Eldraine, right? Eldraine, they showed us Oko, and it just says plus create a food.
Yeah.
And it was like, who knows what a food does? So
I think we guessed what food did, didn't we? I think we were like, what does food do?
Gain 3 life for 2
No. I just think we took stabs at it, you know?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of getting a little, I don't know. I'm a little bored. Maybe it's just because we're having 70 million mechanics and sets shown at any given second, right?
Yeah.
But I'm kind of tired of getting like, ooh, don't you want to know what this means? And I'm like, no, I really just don't. Sorry. I don't know. But interesting. It has Ward 2, so plot must be good.
Yeah. We're going to talk about how good Ward seems to be now going forward. And then, of course, we're not going to really get into them, but we got a look at Modern Horizons 3. Now it's a Commander product for real this time.
Mm-hmm. I do need to stop for a moment here.
Okay.
Ajani Nactal Pariah is a card I can't stop thinking about.
Yeah, it's sexy, right?
No, for people who think like Modern Horizons is okay and it's not like they're printing the strongest cards ever. They are. Like nobody's excited about this card and nobody is talking about the mechanics of this card. And I cannot think of a creature that is better than this creature at its mana cost.
Ragavan.
For white colorless, you get a 1/2 and a 2/1. That is like kind of unheard of.
Yeah.
If the 2/1 dies, your 1/2 doesn't have to, it may flip into a planeswalker that makes 2/1s every turn and domes your opponent like equal, or any target equal to the number of creatures you control, or it can anthem up all the guys that it made, or also it can like cataclysm your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
This is the strongest 2 mana I've ever seen in a card, and nobody cares because Modern is so ultra powerful now.
Yeah.
Because it's not free, right? I mean, again, I think this is just the thing is like
you have to tap 2 lands for this.
The reason that collector boosters and these cards pre-order so hot is that all the players that, you know, like Modern, and again, I think this is Modern Horizons 3 is going to drive even more other Modern players out of the format because they're going to realize, wait a minute, what do you mean all my Modern Horizons 2 cards aren't good anymore? Well, yeah, because there's a new Modern Horizons set now, and Modern just continues to be Modern Horizons block, right? Then whatever the newest set is, with some of the older cards, right? Of course, there's some free spells they printed initially that are still good, right? Mm-hmm. But like your old cards may not be as good anymore, right? Or get banned or whatever. So to the new Lord of the Rings set comes out, or the new whatever set
coming into Modern is wild,
right? Yep. I can't wait for the Black Flare to be an instant, just so that you can evoke Grief, give it the Undying ability, and then sacrifice it to play the Black Flare so you can mega scan people.
So you can get rid of the evoke trigger doesn't happen. So because you did something like that. Yeah, I hear you with that. Yeah, I mean, they probably didn't play test that if that is the case. You know what I'm saying? Like they just be like, oh yeah, we didn't realize you could do that. You know?
I assume we just fired all the playtesters the last big firing, right? Like when they fired everyone a few months ago, that's just where all the playtesters went, right?
I assume, but I don't want to get us too down talking about Modern Horizons cards that do not matter to us.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know what Assassin's Creed is, but these look like Weiss Schwarz cards, and I don't know what Weiss Schwarz is.
Yeah, so Assassin's Creed is also going to be Modern. Is Assassin's Creed Modern legal as well?
Yeah, it's straight to Modern.
Yeah, but they're going to be epilogue boosters. But they've said, hey, which also, hearing them talk about epilogue boosters and being like, we didn't realize how many duplicates people were going to get. It's like a 30-card set. How are they not going to get duplicates?
Right. Yeah. Of the bad ones, not the good ones. Not the ones they want. Yeah.
There aren't many good ones to begin with. All right. Let's talk about something that's going to calm me down. I want to talk about the beautiful world of Bloomborough. The set I'm most excited about now. Look, they're so adorable.
That little otter. Did you see that little otter?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm going to live my best little Redwall life. I'm going to live my best little, I'm so in for the set. The set looks so fun.
Where does Bloomborough happen? On the mini world they didn't talk about much, or where's that at?
Yeah, no. It's on its own plane.
They talked more about Bloomborough than they did about the Cowboy set.
Yeah, because the Cowboy set's going to get more time in like 2 weeks when it comes out.
We got a month for that bad boy.
Yeah. So Bloomborough is its own little plane. Everyone who goes there becomes an animal, which is why we get to see otter versions of Ral Zarek. It sounds like there's going to be a special sheet for this set. They didn't explicitly say, but there is an Imagine Curious Creatures Showcase treatment, so I'm guessing that's going to be a bonus sheet of additional creatures and planeswalkers, kind of as if they were on Bloomber, which is what Fox Chase is. The way it's written, it sounds like Fox Chase isn't going to be in the set. It's going to be one of it's like the bonus sheet cards. So,
do you think that I'm finally going to get a Grim Llamamancer?
You might get a Grim Llamamancer.
Yes.
Do they owe Star City Games money if they do that?
I was going to say, I don't know. Probably not, because it's their stuff, but
We're going to get Tassiper and Bananas.
Tassiper and Banana, okay.
I was already kind of like not feeling this set. I was like, well, I get the Western set, but then I have to deal with like this weird like Secret of Nim plane. But I saw like the key art.
It's red. Like, it's so good.
I saw the key art of like the little mouse and like the giant like embodiment of death fear itself dog, right?
Yeah.
I was like, maybe I can get behind this. And then I just saw only cute Precious Moments Beanie Babies cards, and I was just so like,
I just
need more child scarring, terrifying like Spirits of Night.
You aren't wrong.
More of that.
You aren't wrong. This is definitely a Don Bluth film, and there will be terrifying Spirits of Night. But also, I have Mabel now, and I will protect her with all my life.
Right.
Ian and I were having a discussion on whether or not Mabel is Matthias or Martin the Warrior. I say she's Matthias. Ian says Martin the Warrior. So talk to me about that on Discord.
I never read any of the Mouse Knight books ever.
Did you not watch the PBS show?
I watched Wishbone.
Yeah, got that dog in me. When I mean dog, I mean.
I wonder if Raul Zeric's going to find any tree stars. That's what I want to know.
Oh, man.
That's the emotional roller coaster I'm not ready for.
That's the dinosaur plane. We already went to Ixalan.
True.
Yeah.
All right, so real quick, so we got a couple spoilers here. Mabel, Heir to Cragflame, 1 red, white for a 3/3 mouse soldier. Other mice you control get +1/+1. Chris, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm playing some cheeky mouse.
Yeah.
Right.
The mouse is the house.
When Mabel, Heir to Cragflame, enters the battlefield, create Cragflame, a legendary colorless equipment artifact token with equipped creatures +1/+1, has Vigilance, Trample, and Haste equip 2. All right, that's a pretty good equipment.
Vigilance, Trample, Haste is no joke, yeah.
Yeah. We also have Lumra, Bellow of the Woods, 4 green for a star legendary elemental bear with Vigilance, Reach. Careful that, Ricky. It's a bear, so it has reach.
Reach.
I can't read that. Why does the bear reach?
Someone pointed out to me, I didn't realize.
All bear.
Does Orcish Bowmasters really not have reach?
No, it does not.
No, they have a flash. It has to reach.
It does it. It does it.
It's got flash and it pings stuff. That's what it does with its bow. It's on the ground. It can't. They're goblins. They can't hit flyers. They don't have the eye hand coordination for that. They can only shoot out.
All right, so Lumra, Bellow of the Woods, like I was saying. Lumra, Bellow of the Woods, power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. When Lumra enters the battlefield, mill 4 cards, then return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped.
Oh, okay. That seems solid.
We have going to be a lot of booster fun, basically, that's what I'm excited for. Then we have the showcase treatments. Then we got Animate, and that was kind of all the... I thought there were other cards spoiled for this, but they're not in the article. They're not other cards.
There can't be more cards spoiled than Thunder Junction, which is coming out faster.
I don't like other mice you control get +1/+1.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they showed off the 2 cards from the Learn to Play set. So we got also, if you scroll at the bottom, you get Burke, Long Ear of the Law, 4 green, white for a 4/4 rabbit soldier with Vigilance. When Burke, Long Ear of the Law enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter each up to 2 target creatures you control. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it attacks, double the number of 1/1 counters on it.
So, okay. These are from
Learn to Play. I misspoke. It's whenever Burke enters, because this set enters the battlefield is just enters.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
I'm actually excited about that.
We're going to save a lot of space on the One Piece set now.
I know. We have to go back.
We're going to retemplate everything.
And retemplate everything, but that's all right. Worth it.
Then we have Bria Riptide Rogue, 2 blue-red for a 3/3 Otter Rogue. With prowess. Other creatures you control have prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, target creature you control can't be blocked this turn.
Some Prowl's goodness.
That's
Okay,
right.
so those are a learn to play deck.
Yes.
All right. I thought those were actual mythics from the actual set, and I was like, not only is this set's theme gonna be weird, the cards are gonna be bad.
Yeah, no, those are learn to play cards.
Okay, I'm more okay with this, with those being learn to play mythics.
Yeah. And that'll do it for spoilers. So, gentlemen, are we ready to dive in to Pro Tour Murders at Karlov Manor?
Yes.
At Markov Manor.
That's right.
At
That's
Manor.
right.
All right, so of course we had several great, we had plenty of rounds of great, awesome coverage to watch. So hopefully you all went back and watched that coverage because Pioneer was popping off. It was a great time to watch some great Pioneer play. A lot of early heads-up play from a lot of great players here. Our top 8, Jean-Emmanuel Depraz on Is It Phoenix, Adam Edelson on Is It Phoenix, Sam Pardee on Rakdos Vampires, Alex Friedrichsen on Lotus Field, Min Yang Chen, the Channel Fireball Slayer himself, on Lotus Field combo. Then you have Christopher Larson on Amalia combo. Second place, Simon Nielsen on Boros Heroic. And first place, your winner, Seth Manfield on Rakdos Vampires. I tell you what, man, if it wasn't for Seth, I think Min Yang Chen was going to go all the way with Lotus Field.
He was quick with it. I mean, when you watch it reminded me a lot of Ed playing like the sack decks, like the was it Food Trail, Crumb Trail, something like that.
Yeah, Trail
Crumbs. Yeah. The operations were super smooth, which I guess you could say is to be expected of a Pro Tour player. But usually once you get to that level, unless you're LSV, you slow down because you're a little more worried, right? You're more cautious. This is the highest level of play. And not that he wasn't cautious, I'm not saying, but the speed of play seemed pretty solid. Like he definitely knew the lines of his deck. So definitely was pretty cool to see that player play.
Yeah.
Given how well they knew their deck.
I was saying, that they knocked LSV out of top 8 contention.
Yes.
They then knocked out Sam Pardee. Unfortunately, or fortunately for Seth managed to finally put an end to it. And of course go on to win. But man, Lotus Field, obviously, story of the weekend, Rakdos Vampires. We're going to talk all about Rakdos Vampires here in a second. Lotus Field with Archdruid's Charm looked very impressive this weekend.
Right. 7 tutors for their lands now. They're now at the point where they can cut down to 3 Thespian stage.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just have so many ways to tutor lands.
Yeah.
Yep.
This player particularly has also cut to 3 Arboreal Grazer.
Yeah.
A wild heads up meta call. But I think that's wild. That's literally the best card in the deck sometimes,
Yeah, it is. But if you get stuck with it, then if you get a bunch from late game, it's not really doing much. So I see the cut. I think the cut makes sense. Right. But yeah, especially the one match where we got to see all 3 modes of Archdruid's Charm go to work, where we got to get our Lotus Field. We got to then find Dragonlord Jamoka. We then got to fight with Dragonlord Jamoka. It was just insane.
Right. No Chandra.
Yeah. We're just in on
back to approach.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, We're putting the Voyaging Satyrs main. Our opponent won't have the removal. Or better, you can bait them to leaving the removal in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the goal with leaving the main deck Voyaging Satyr, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is to show your opponent a very juicy removal target.
Mm-hmm.
And then punish them when they left in their removal when you take out your Voyaging Satyrs.
That's a hot idea. Yeah.
I've been thinking about that a lot playing that burn deck that I was playing, where I was main decking only 2 copies of Monstrous Rage, and I sided them out in a lot of mid-range matchups.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, really wanted to see it in game 1 because it was the fear of God in them.
Sure.
And they're holding up mana always now, right? And then I'm trying to cast Urbrask Forges and Koths, and they're holding their random go for the throat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I like the idea. The other Lotus Field player, though,
Yes.
Went out in
Alec Friedrichsen of the other top.
Right. Main decking their Dragon Lord Dramoka.
Yeah.
Said, you know what? I'm tired of bringing it in. He's just here.
Yeah, he's just here now. Yeah, we're just going to tutor him up if you need to, right? Like, hey, if you're trying to start up a creature matchup, I really can't think of a better way. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, you can try and go kill him, but that requires a pretty solid string of cards. Dramoka just is like, against a lot of creature decks, is kind of unremovable.
Yeah.
So it's hard to remove against Phoenix, to be honest with you, as well.
It also wins the Vayner for matchup.
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to we like it so much, we're going to play a second one, like a Dramoka Jr. in Kutzel Malamut Exemplar in our sideboard.
Another one, a mini one.
We're just playing this because it says our opponent can't cast spells during our turn.
Yeah, our opponent can interact with us.
Right. So, like, we just go, all right, our first Lotus Field activation, we're going to play this guy, and then we're just going to go off. Like, now Dramoka really does just cost 3 mana.
Mm-hmm.
Why wait the turn, you know?
Sure.
So, I like, I mean, I don't like either of these lists. I hate this deck, but it is a good deck.
Yeah.
And they played very well.
I want to talk about the changes to Amalia that Christopher Larson was playing. Of course, we're seeing a shift from Collected Company over to Fauna Shaman in the main now with this deck list. Not all of the Amalia players doing this. I think this is just Christopher Larson's team was kind of doing this change here. We're playing 3 Fauna Shaman. We're down to 2 Company, up to 4 Return to the Ranks. That way, because Fauna Shaman will help feed our graveyard, right? So we want to lean into Return to the Ranks more than we are Collected Company. I think this definitely lets you have a little more fun with some of your one-of aspects of the deck. And I do think this sets you up to go a little bit longer of a match than you are looking for an explosive match with Company. I don't think there is a real one way or another version I'd play the deck right now. I haven't gotten to try out the Fauna Shaman build just yet, but I do think there is obviously crazy to play this version of the deck, but I do think there is kind of 2 ways of playing. Do you want to play a slow methodical game with Fauna Shaman, or you just want to just try to go boom combo go? So that's kind of how I'm seeing it. What do you think? Ricky's the other Amalia person.
The actual card that blows my mind in this list, and I don't know, and I want to know, if I could ask Christopher Larson one card, one question, is how was Scattered Groves? We're playing on one of Scattered Groves.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I mean, we explore, so we get extra lands to our hand. So I get wanting 1 cycle land, but this card is so terrible.
So it was just kind of some of the on-camera matches the games we saw, it ended up actually being kind of relevant, where if they had it while they're going off the Amalia, they could just go, like, put the reservoir on top, put on, like, something like a Fatal Push on top of the library while they're exploring with Amalia, and then just immediately add it to their hand. So they could go find, like, a protection piece for Amalia as well. Not have to wait a turn to draw it, just draw it with the cycle and put it in their hand, and they have the protection piece as well.
Right, so while you're comboing off, normally I just flip cards, right? But what you're doing is once you find it, you let that explore resolve, and in the middle of your triggers, you're cycling the land to draw it.
Yeah.
So you can keep digging for, like, another card.
Yeah.
I like that, actually, quite a bit. That's way heads up, way better than I am at this game.
Yeah, and because it's a land right, it will go to your hand if you find it off.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing is I played a lot of this matchup against Vein Ripper.
Uh-huh.
And I don't see a way we can out Vein Ripper at all in this list.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to go back to playing, like, the Get Lost and stuff like that again.
Yeah, or maybe Pick Your Poison.
Pick Your Poison is another good one for sure. I think Pick Your Poison. Man, Pick Your Poison is modern playable, so foils were, like, I think $5. I was crying a bit thinking of picking some up.
I mean, with this list, we just reservoir our opponent, right?
Oh yeah,
That's
for
okay.
sure.
We ain't afeared of no vein ripping.
I bought actual factual the worst card that you can buy in Pioneer today.
What'd you buy?
I bought 2 foil Tears of Valakut.
I was going to ask, why did you buy those?
So the Phoenix box is complete.
That's right.
It is a card that you can play right now.
Oh, no.
So I need to have every single possible card in foil for Phoenix.
It's good when Spirits comes back. Let me tell you that much. You know.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Spirits here in a few minutes.
The Spiritos fly again.
Before we start Vampire Watch, though, Chris, I want to give you the chance to talk about Jason Yee's Just Add Creativity list. I know you definitely were hyping that up, and we're definitely a little bit crushed to not see them top 8.
Yeah, that was a rough series, to be honest with you. I think super great showing. I think that we may have played ourselves a little bit. I think we walked. I did notice us walk away from the table to ask if Sam Party missed a Preacher of the Schisms trigger. I think only to realize that Sam knows how to play the deck and just realized that if you attack a Planeswalker, you don't get both triggers. So there was a couple times where we invested quite a bit into trying to catch people on triggers instead of making our best effort. I feel to play the match at hand, and it may have cost us some because we made some mistakes in key moments there. But otherwise, this was a absolutely fantastic showing. This is a super sweet deck. You could see the proficiency with the deck. There was pretty quick play, right? And when you're playing quick at a Pro Tour, I think that indicates that you know what you are doing.
Yeah.
But lights are on, pressure's high. So again, this deck is something that I was talking about kind of for a while. But my version, a long time ago, had the Raven's Warning.
Mm-hmm.
And the Raven's Warning is a blue-white card that at the first chapter makes a toki. Second chapter says if you hit an opponent with a creature, you draw a card and gain life. I think the first step actually gains you 2 life or something like that. And the third chapter tutors you a card from the sideboard and puts it on the top of your deck. Particularly relevant because this Jeskai Creativity deck is a Yorion deck.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a Yorion deck, 80 cards. We're going to Creativity into 3 Atraxa the Grand Unifier. We've got the Wandering Emperors of 4 of, 2 Teferis. And then we've got a control list here. March of Otherworldly Light is a 1 of, 4 Dovin's Veto, 2 Get Lost, 3 Lightning Helix, new Pioneer All-Star, new Mega Pioneer All-Star, 2 of No More Lies. 4 Creativities, 3 Prismari Command. Obviously, make yourself some tokens, do some damage. 2 Memory Deluges, 2 Supreme Verdicts, and 1 Farewell. And then we've got some blinkables here with Yorion. We've got some Chain to the Rocks, Omen of the Sea, Fable, the Mirror Breaker, of course, and a Singleton Shark Typhoon. But it definitely just seems like, hey, this is the deck that said, well, if I get Thought Seized a bunch, I can still rip a combo. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I've got proactive ways to win the game. I've got reactive spells. So I really do like this version of the deck. I think the Is It version only a little more developing. Potentially you could play a couple Reenact the Crime in the Is It version, see if that keeps up. You probably want to play, obviously, Magma Opus and things like that. But I was rooting for Jason to make the top 8, that's for sure. Because it was super sweet. I liked their play. I thought the deck was fun. So I'd be interested to hear more from them on how they came up with the deck list, because a couple other players play this. Did they see it online? What did they think? What drew them to the deck? Because again, obviously, as a Creativity fan, was super excited to see this. So
it's really interesting we're not on Deduce in this deck list. You'd think that
there's probably not room, right? We probably took a control deck and made it Creativity.
Yeah, true.
This is taking a Creativity deck and making it control.
Yeah, we also have ways to actually just cast the Atraxas, right? We don't have the card that lets us shuffle the card back into the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I was trying to think of why Creativity over Transmogrify and just make the mana easier.
Well, we have, in this particular case, we've got Prismari Command to make Tokis. So there's more spells that make artifacts. Sure. But you're right, it's not too much different, that's for sure. You know what I'm saying? Right. We can also Creativity a Bows Crusher to help our
Lotus
matchup, which is pretty funny,
Absolutely.
But yeah, it definitely does seem like our only way to make artifacts that I see is Prismari Command,
Yeah.
So, But honestly, like I think I watched this matchup several times, and I don't know how often I saw the creativity. I mostly just saw like, hey, I've got you control locked, and people kind of scooped, or we
do have
made Shark Typhoon tokens. So
two players that went 9-1 with Phoenix.
Yeah.
That both they don't top 8 because of their limited records. So like just seeing that like Phoenix I think still was ultimately one of the better decks to be playing.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
But just like no, there's not many other 9-1s that missed, right?
Yeah,
it's like all like Phoenixes.
Mm-hmm. Now you did. You unfortunately didn't get to see in top 8 was the Phoenix builds main boarding 2 Ashioks.
Ooh. What do you think about that, Ricky?
I've been liking Ashiok, and I meant to buy some foils, but I have not yet.
Yeah.
Card's been kind of sick against like Amalia and a bunch of other decks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the real one there is Amalia, I feel like. Because like I said, I just want to play Narset because I feel like we get more out of it, and like just not just Phoenix, but decks across the way.
Narset just does not do anything in a lot of matchups.
So I mean, against Phoenix, obviously, which is a very popular deck, it's game winning. Against like Lotus Field, it's game winning.
No, they don't. They don't draw cards. Like they have Pour Over the Pages is the only card that draws them cards. Everything else tutors.
Yeah, I think I was thinking Pour is like the big one,
Yeah, they have Pour, but
you don't get to stop Emergent Ultimatum, I suppose.
Right,
no,
you don't stop Emergent Ultimatum or Archdruid's Charm or Sylvan Scrying.
I think Archdruid's Charm really changed the math on that. Now they have more ways
fair.
to. Now they don't need Pour just to go find the Lotus Fields or something like that anymore, right?
They're past. With my Narset loving,
It's okay, buddy. I do real quick one last thing to talk about. We were talking about vampires. Let's talk about Simon Nielsen and Boris Heroic. Unfortunately, no cheeky house mice here, but boy, was this deck fun to watch. And I mean, look, this is this Pro Tour Selesnya Auras, right? It's our little aggressive deck that could, unfortunately, just can't get the crown. But Simon Nielsen just running hot most of the weekend, making it look easy.
Light of Hope.
What's up?
Light of Hope.
Yeah, Light of Hope, yeah. In the sideboard.
Shodan of the Scalds was an all-star out of the sideboard. Like we saw that once in games.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
And then, of course,
here's my card draw I need.
Plenty of ways to make Amalia draw their games.
Yep.
Which we did see twice. This deck, we've talked about this deck for a while now before. I mean, we talked about this deck when Wilds Drain came out. We had our our last webcam event. We'll have another one soon. And Heroic won that. I mean, Monstrous Rage is just such an impressive card. It really helps you get the damage in quick. I mean, watch this deck play out. You have 2 creatures on the board, right? If you get 2 creatures on the board, it's very quickly just to go 16 damage in a single turn with just like 3 spells. It's very, very impressive. Still, of course, when Rakdos is going to be one of the most popular decks in the format, it's going to start getting a little dicey.
Yep.
But otherwise, I do think that when you're expecting things like Phoenix and a lot of control, right? Even Lotus is a very heavily played deck list this tournament. It's a good deck choice. Especially, it was really fun to see hear Simon talk about like the deck has no good matchups as he just tears through the rest of the field, right? And then finally in top 8, it's just like, well, like Lotus is a pretty good matchup.
Right. There's a couple of good matchups. Yeah. I feel like what's underrated about this deck is like when the field is prepping for control, and then kind of as a result, Lotus Field, like you do better because like all the hand disruption isn't as good against you. It's fine. Like you can get lucky sometimes, but generally speaking, your opponent spinning a card to deal damage to themselves is like your dream scenario, right? And a lot of decks were skimping a little bit on removal, and even then, like you have so much protection, right? And your guys get so big that sometimes you can just leave your favorite hoplite out of range and just go, if you've got a lightning axe, great, but you only play a couple of them,
Yeah.
So we saw some matchups where like, oh crap, the opponent did have 2 lightning axes, but sometimes they didn't have any, and that was just the game. So like, again, your Phoenix matchup isn't as bad as you might think, just based on like favorite hoplite's immunity to damage also when you target it, right? And then again, a lot of decks were skimping on removal. Again, sometimes they have it, and you just still have the Loran's Escape. Right, we're only playing one God's Will. We're playing 5 ways to protect our guys. So you can certainly just get a little bit lucky and still take over the game. What's that?
We have Sajiri Shelter. We have 6.
We also have a 1 of Sajiri Shelter. That's right. Yeah, as a double face card. So it's like I was talking about pre-Pro Tour, right? When I was like, hey, this is a deck that I'd be looking out for. And somebody else in this podcast, I think, said no. But it's a deck that I was thinking we might seek just based on the fact that, again, hey, if you're looking to prep, if there's an aggro deck that's good into Phoenix, right? Most of them are not, given the amount of red rule spells, but it's a deck like this where the red damage spells only do so much against giant creatures or creatures that are immune to damage.
Yeah. Heroic also doing better than Convoke in this Pro Tour. And like you mentioned, everyone was definitely geared for control because we're looking at the control match. Nowhere in this top 8. You have Yuta Takahashi at 8-1 on Azorius control. You have Dylan Kikawa on 7-2.
Third most played, though.
It was the second most played, actually.
Oh, did they combine mid-range with vampires?
No. Azorius Control and Rakdos Midrange had the same number of decks. It's 36.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Number 1 was Phoenix, yeah?
Yeah. Number 1 was Phoenix at 46. So Control and Midrange were both 14%. No, Vampires was always its own thing. At least on the things that they showed off. So
yeah, the breakdown that we got before the tournament had Rakdos Vampires as its own deck.
As its own deck, yeah. So definitely not a great time to be Control. So let's now shift on over to the new King of the Pioneer metagame, and that is, of course, Rakdos Vampires. Again, piloted here to a victory by Seth Manfield, but of course piloted to a 100% day 2 conversion rate by all of Team CFB. The only person that didn't convert, or I think they still converted, was Paul Riesel played the original mono black variant that they initially pitched, and then everyone else was just like, let's just add Fable to the deck.
Yep.
Why not? It's free.
I called my buddy who top 8'd with like the first Rakdos Vampires deck back in the day, back when Innistrad came out. He was the first one to top 8 at a major like 1K or 5K that we played in Austin, and the deck list got covered extensively because it was like the cool new Rakdos deck that was out there. You had like Calastria Highborn, stuff like that. And it started from a player that we knew playing like a deck, and they made some of the worst plays we had ever seen in our lives and still were winning with it. And so he was like, what if I improve this deck list to play with? So I called him to be like, hey, you'll never guess what won over the weekend. And he said, was it a Rakdos Vampires deck? I said, it sure was. It sure was. And he hasn't played Magic in like a decade. So it was kind of funny to see. So here we are back again.
Yeah, so the full deck list, for those of you who don't know, and I don't know how you don't know, coming in a whopping $800 thanks to those post
Rakdos midrange.
Those post Pro Tour price hikes. If you were lucky and bought in on Saturday and Sunday, you could source for at $15. Well, Friday and Saturday, you could source for at $15. You could get the like dossier versus the Vayne Rippers for like $5 because that showcase art is not great. I opted for Invisible Inks at $10. But you could have got this deck easily. But now Vayne Rips are like $25 and Sorens are like over $30. So sorry if you missed out. So this deck list is 4 Blood Tithe Harvester, 2 Dusk Legion Zealot, 3 Preacher of the Schism, 1 Shieldred of the Apocalypse, 4 Vayne Ripper, 4 Sorin Imperious Bloodlord, 2 Duress, 4 Fatal Push, 4 Thoughtseize, 1 Bitter Triumph, 2 Smuggler's Copter, 4 Fable of the Mirror Breaker. We got 25 lands here. So let's talk about it. So obviously, right, suffice to say, this isn't just we shut Vayne Ripper and Sorin into Rakdos mid-range. I mean, it's pretty close, right? We've got everything you know. We've got the 4 Thoughtseizes. It's the Pro Tour. We're expecting more spells for main boarding through Duresses here, right? We got 4 Fable of the Mirror Breaker. We're not playing Reckoner Bank Bust. We're playing Smuggler's Copter instead. I do like some of these builds that are actually main boarding the 1 Shieldred versus just playing it in the sideboard. I do like the main board Shieldred here. And then, of course, like I said, we're main boarding 4 Sorin, 4 Vayne Ripper, and we're just mulling to hit that turn 3 Sorin.
Yeah. Vayne Ripper is a house.
Yeah.
When it is not played fairly.
Yeah, exactly right. I was telling Chris, I mean, I think we briefly talked about Vayne Ripper during spoiler season and just kind of all forgot Soren existed because it's been so long. And the most recent Soren X have just been the memes of just, we're going to cheat in Maverin and Galta and
Unless you're
hope and pray.
D-Link 7.
Yeah.
Prophet of the people. Okay.
Of the people.
So I only see 5 toughness and think, oh, I can kill that. I don't think there has ever been a time where Ward, not a number, has been a fun and exciting part of Magic.
Yeah, I think I was talking with Chris.
That is a mistake. I think Ward hyphen anything not pay 2 mana is unbelievably frustrating.
Yeah, I was talking with Chris over the weekend. We were doing our recaps, and I mean, like, sure, you have Ward like lose some amount of life, Ward discard a card. Those suck, but you can do it. Ward sacrifice a creature. Some decks just can't. Like Control can't do that. Phoenix, you're going to struggle to do that in a lot of cases, right? Like there are so many decks that just can't pay that Ward cost.
And then like literally at minimum, right? They go like Soren minus, here's a Vayne Ripper, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, your best case scenario as a Phoenix player is you're going to play a Lightning Axe, you're going to discard a card, you're going to sack a creature like a Ledger Shredder that you have left around, right?
But now you're going to a 4-point life swing.
You're 3 cards behind. Your opponent has gained 4 life, and you have lost 4 life. This is Cruel Ultimatum.
Yeah.
That's the best case scenario for you.
Best case scenario is they miss it for a turn. You've already got a Phoenix in play and get your Phoenix back. That's best case scenario.
That's better case scenario, right?
Yeah.
But they play this on turn 3, and if you don't have the Spell Pierce, you lose.
Yep.
It's really rough. It's way scarier than it looks, and you always just forget that Ward sacrifice a creature. They put this on some Lord of the Rings cards, and it wasn't scary because they put it on like 27 mana, 3 color nonsense cards that do, I don't know, 37 million things in a Commander game. Like Sauron and Saruman, who are the best friends that want to take over a Lord of the Rings land.
Yes.
Right. They both had
Lower
Ward
Earth.
Sacrifice a legendary creature or artifact.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, Chris is trying to make Tolkien fans mad.
And nobody thought twice about that. Everybody was like, that's cool. You can put that ability on a 37 mana card, right?
Yeah.
All right, but on a 6 mana card that comes down on turn 3, this is no longer fun.
Yeah.
So now I'm at a crisis of faith here on the 100 Burns in a few weeks, and I don't know if I'm playing this Walking with Amalia or I'm playing Spirits.
Can you imagine if Cavern protected the Sorin?
Oh my god.
I would be crying right now.
We would all be crying.
We'd be done.
But like also just they can play like this like pseudo red-black mid-range game against you, and then on turn 6 they just have uncounterable Vayne Ripper.
Yeah.
And it's way scarier than Shieldred.
Yeah. I will say, though, the mirror match is also very miserable.
I'd imagine this mirror is, like...
That's,
abysmal.
like, one of the only reasons I don't want to play this deck of the Hunter Burden is just, like, do I want to play a million mirror matches?
Also, like, then the Sorin is still there. So then next turn, this guy attacks actually for 7.
Yeah.
And it with lifelink. Or they're going to sack their Mutavault.
Yeah.
Kill your guy. You lose 4 life. They gain 7 life.
And then they either kill a guy or deal you 3.
Like, it's just a... Whoa.
Yeah, no, this deck is insane. This is one of those PT winning decks that, like, I think will definitely hang around.
Yep.
And I think we are going to see possibly the new flavor of Rakdos midrange for a bit. This begs the question I think we should all talk about. Fable the Mirror Breaker has won the last 4 Pro Tours. What does this mean for Fable the Mirror Breaker going forward? Because need I remind you, on March 11th, we are projected a BNR update. Now, I think this metagame in general was very well balanced. I think this Pro Tour went on to show a lot of lack of Amalia dominance, right? I think this definitely showed where Amalia's power was. I think this Pro Tour was generally pretty well balanced in the form of meta going on, right? I think we had a lot of stuff represented. Of course, you have a lot of great players playing these events. But when you have people, the Mirror Breaker, holding the ham sandwiches together of the world, what does this deck mean for Pioneer going forward? And what does it mean for looking at a potential BNR in a few weeks?
I'm ready for a new story. I've
Yeah.
read Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and I'm done.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you read a Magic Treehouse book, and you're like, that was kind of fun, and then you realize that there's like 87 of them, and you're like, this is too much.
They're all the same anyway.
Yeah. I know how this goes. Chapter 1, you get a guy. Chapter 2, you draw cards. Chapter 3, I need to spend 2 removal spells. Yeah. I'm aware. I've read the book. I've seen the manual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're about to make it into a movie, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are going to say it's not as good as the Fable, but,
I heard Keith G's hard to work with, though. Keeps breaking the camera lenses.
Fable 9, they go to the moon, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty hot. Ludacris is there.
Ludacris is there, and he goes.
I can't wait for Fast 11.
Tell you what, man, it's hard for me to say. I would be totally fine if they banned this card, but it's just one of those cards where I'm just like, well, like, what's our philosophy? Because we unbanned
Smuggler's Copter for, even though it's ubiquitous. And let's look here. Oh, is that 2 Smuggler's Copters in this deck?
Listen, we lost that argument, right? Like, I was willing to say, like, hey, man, like, this, we've tried this twice before. I still don't think it was a smart unban, but it seems like it worked out, right? Like, we just have the power level of cards.
I don't think it's a smart unban if we ban Fable.
I'm with you. I will tell you that, it makes me wonder what the philosophy is, right? Because it's like, hey, Fable's a really, really powerful card, but like, I'm not sure that it's like the end of the game like it once was, right? Like, if we're soaring into Vein Ripper, I
think that Wizards is too invested in the hot oven that is Modern Horizons 3 Commander decks to care.
Yeah.
They're too busy charging you 2 weeks worth of grocery money for a collector booster box.
Yep. And it's just like
2 weeks of groceries?
Huh?
Dude, they're $500, man.
Yeah.
Modern Horizons 3 collectors.
Oh, you're eating good.
No, for like a family of 4. For like a family of 4, right? Like,
yeah.
It's like, dude, I don't have a $500 twice a month.
You got to feed these kids, dog. You got to feed these kids out here, okay?
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, again, to finish the point, it's just like, are we living in a world where like we're okay with some of these power level things? Then like, I really don't think Fable's that broken. I think it like does a lot of cool stuff when it comes to like, enabling creativity decks, when it comes to enabling like reanimation decks, right? Like letting you put stuff in the yard. So I think that it enables quite a few decks that I think are interesting from Pioneer. But like, I'd be fine if they banned it because it is an incredibly strong card. There's no arguing that.
The discussion I always end up on with Fable isn't a power level. It's a power level in that, like, when I want to play any other color combination, any other mid-range deck that isn't red, right? It's just like, all right, yeah, we're cooking here. Like, oh, we got Mosswood Dreadnought. We got, like, Wedding Announcement. We've got some stuff to give card advantage, right? But then, if we had red, though, we could play Fable the Mirror Breaker.
I hear you.
Yeah.
The red aggro decks obviously aren't gonna pick it up necessarily, right? Some of them maybe have, I guess, but like, your heroic, it's too slow. There's a lot of aggro decks where it is too slow. So like, you have to be more of a mid-range style deck, I feel like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. But like,
yeah,
when you try to build any mid-range deck as far out, you just got to go. We're starting with red because Fable's so good.
Yes, right, exactly right. But I mean, some aggro decks are having to face some of that with Copter as well, and that's kind of where I go. Like, well, hey, how much do we care about ubiquity, right? Because it's like we just unbanned a Copter, and that's where I'm wondering. But
I mean, Heroic's not playing Copter. Is Convoke playing Copter? I don't think so.
I thought they were.
They tried it a little bit, but
to mess around a little bit.
I think that honestly, we could continue with Fable. I think that Rakdos Vampires, while it will stick around, I think it was just a perfect meta call because Vein Ripper is just the perfect silver bullet for the current meta, where the like top 4 decks involve 2 decks with lots of answers and very few creatures, right? With Phoenix and Azorius Control. so they can't kill your guy. And then like aggro decks with lots of creatures and no way to deal 5 damage to something.
Right.
And a combo deck that plays tons of creatures and no removal or interaction at all. So it was just like this card just hits this Venn diagram perfect middle.
A combo deck that also relies on blowing up the world, draining themselves for a million points.
Right. It hits this perfect center space where every deck can't answer it cleanly.
Yeah.
Right. It was kind of like that with like Chariot for a while, where just like Chariot just couldn't be answered cleanly by any deck in Standard. So like it became this ultra powerful threat that just sort of like took over the meta for a little bit until people put more answers to Chariot in their deck. Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of matchups, let's take a quick second to look at what Karsten put up with the the matchup breakdowns of some of the events of decks here in the event. We're going to start just kind of looking at with the decks that were piloted by 2 or more players. So we're going to skip Dimir Control, Boros, Burn, Quintores. We're going to talk about Rakdos Vampires here. So, of course, Rakdos Vampires was our most winning deck with more than 2 pilots. At 60.2% win rate here. Out of the bigger match of the event, MTG Top 8 has a much more expansive matchup matrix, but I think these are the matchups people are really going to care about, right? Look at some of the more popular matchups here. As you can see here, its worst match was Is It Phoenix at 48% win rate. Surprisingly, Lotus Field at a 75% win rate. That's kind of shocking to me. I just feel like there are a lot of cases where this deck could potentially be too slow to beat out Lotus Field, right? Maybe I'm wrong on that.
It's also a very low sample size, only 8 games played there.
Yeah. So I would be kind of worried about Lotus Field if you are playing this deck list. I mean, sure, if you line up Thoughtseize and Dresses just well enough, like it's fine. But I feel like, sometimes that getting to attack with Vein Ripper on turn 4, they're potentially ready to go off the next turn. You've maybe only dealt them like 10 damage. So I think there is a world where this deck could be too slow against Lotus Field.
Right.
What do you guys think?
I think that ultimately your Thoughtseizes and Duresses are just putting in a ton of work here.
Mm-hmm.
Some lists, let's see here. Let's look at the Pro Tour list. Were running Buzz Crusher in their sideboard.
Yeah.
So that's kind of helpful. And Liliana of the Veil, which all hurt, and everybody's playing Damping Sphere. So a lot of hate cards you have to fight through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our winner, Seth Manfield, here is playing 2 Duress main.
Yeah.
With the 4 Thoughtseize, right? So easily, I think, going to be a lot to put up and a very fast clock with Vein Ripper off the Sorin.
Sure.
I just feel like this deck has the pressure and the disruption to fight Lotus Field, and Buzz Crusher honestly just makes it that much better. Like this card, like blowing up the unblowable-upable, like interacting with the uninteractable part of the combo,
sure,
is just huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to go tutor up your Besagus to blow up your Damping Spheres. You have to hurry up and combo before Lily takes enough of your hand away, right? And we can, in fact, battle the Dramoka with cards like, Vein Ripper.
Yeah.
So,
are there any other matchups here that kind of shock you in this graph here, or do you want to talk about like Phoenix win rate? What do you want to talk about else here before we start kind of wrap things up and looking as we go forward from on the meta from here?
So, the Phoenix win rate against Rakdos midrange improving that much is insane.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that it is gotten a little bit better. And I like that even though we are teching really hard for Amalia, the Amalia win rate is still very bad.
Yeah.
And then Boros Heroic is a really hard matchup. As somebody who's played that matchup plenty of times, Phoenix versus Heroic, and in a world with no more Thing in the Ice, it's going to be abysmal. Like that's how you win that matchup, is you have to get Thing in the Ice.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way around it.
Yeah, for sure. Amalia had a pretty solid showing here at 55.9%. A bad control matchup, but I mean, we kind of knew that going in, right? You don't have a lot of protection against control. Boris Kvok did pretty good. Turns out Nassif was talking about Rakdos mid-range being the bad choice out of the 13 percenters. I don't know if you saw that meme going around.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers
he's a
here.
pretty well on Dimir control. He's the only player playing it, but he had a successful outage.
Yeah. I mean, Dimir control usually, we see Dimir control once things really, really start stagnating in the format, or like, Dimir control is one of those decks that if you can get the perfect meta call, I feel like does very well in Pioneer.
Well, I think it's
the
like,
numbers
again,
for Rakdos mid-range are abysmal.
Yeah.
I mean, 4-17 versus Amalia and 11-31 versus Phoenix, and I feel like bringing a deck that is going to struggle against Phoenix and Amalia, which are going to be projected to be two of the best decks in the format, right?
Yeah, I mean that's why you have Nassif calling out the deck.
But Teamer Vehicles though, 100% win rate against Phoenix. Can't lose that matchup.
I mean, do you know what the Teamer Vehicles deck list was?
No, I don't.
It was Gruul Vehicles just playing Stubborn Denial.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think as well, we're not going to really talk about them, but there was a lot of good one of Singleton like deck list pilots that did very well in Pioneer, very strong showings. Really a lot of fun stuff there. So yes, I think that'll kind of do it for the Pro Tour proper. We're not really going to dive into the challenges per se, besides just saying that, hey, Rakdos Vampires is everywhere. I do, though, want to talk about one brief deck list here for these challenges, and that is Rem's deck list that they split the finals with of the, I think this is the Saturday challenge, and this is a take on Azorius Spirits, kind of made to beat that mid-range matchup we're seeing here. So we're looking at 4 Mausoleum Wanderer, 3 Spectral Sailor, 4 Outrageous, 4 Supreme Phantom, 1 Catilda, 4 Spell Queller, 1 Wandering Vampire, 2 Invasion of Gobakon, 1 Spell Pierce, 2 Get Lost, 4 No More Lies, 3 Smuggler's Copter, 4 Wedding Announcement, 23 lands. And then I believe Tyus M also had a second place finish of this deck list in one of the other challenges. So I think this deck list has some legs if you're still looking to play a Spirits build here. What if we pre-sideboarded for the Rakdos matches by bringing in the Wedding Announcements into the main, right? We're dropping things like Shacklegeist, some of these spirits we just kind of don't need a lot of anymore. I like picking up No More Lies here as a counter spell, and I just think like here's a way, again, showing that other deck lists can still, that we haven't seen for a while, still have legs if we adapt them into playing in the front. What do you think of this deck list?
Wandering Vampire seems like a great card.
Wandering Emperor?
Yeah, you said Wandering Vampire. I was excited for it. I was getting really hyped. I think this deck is really good, but the problem is like its Phoenix matchup is really hard.
Yes.
So I like that we're main decking Invasion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like it seems like a pretty good deck. We got 3 Rest in Peace, right? Maybe go it up to 4.
No, I definitely think this is the deck list that is just like, if people are jamming Rakdos Vampires or just Rakdos, we're just fighting back with this.
Right.
What are some other just deck lists? I mean, besides things like this, like what are some other deck lists you think people should be looking into to kind of combat back at Rakdos? I mean, I'm thinking anything with Leyline Binding right now has to be pretty good, right?
I think Niv to Light, yeah.
Niv to Light, Enigmatic.
You'd have to go like Fable, obviously, into removal spell, right?
Did you see this Naya mid-range deck?
Sure, I mean that is that. Sorry, hold on, Ricky. I mean, yeah, no, you have a good point there. Is that like, yeah, once again, Vein Ripper's ward ability is just, I mean, you just forget about how good it is.
Yeah, ward sacrifice creature is a hell of a drug, you know?
Yeah, for sure, right? And it's like, oh yeah, we can pay the ward. No, we can't. We really can't.
Yeah. Honestly, what I would look to is, like I said, green, mostly sideboard cards, like green decks with Pick Your Poison. That card may be becoming main deckable somewhat soon, just as like an option.
Like modern players.
Yeah, like Blessed Sacrifice also seems interesting, right? Like, hey, just let's make our opponent sacrifice creatures, whether it be with a Shieldred's Edict or a whatever. Because Shieldred's Edict is nice because, hey, let's say your opponent went like, uh, I don't know, they have a Fable. You have Fable insurance because they have to sacrifice a non-token creature, hopefully.
Mhm.
So if you can deal with some of the other smaller stuff, then you can Edict the big guy and hope. But I don't know. It's hard for me to tell you that reactionary cards are like the best way to handle it, as much as just like, okay, you've got a Vein Ripper, I've got an Atraxa, you know,
Mhm.
but your hand's getting shredded. So it's hard. It's just hard to say, right? It's like, they're presenting strong threats while also having really proactive hand disruption. So your options seem pretty limited, and I'm not sure if it's better to try and deal with the giant Vein Ripper or if it's better to just ignore it and try and do something cooler.
Yeah.
I think the jury may be out on that one,
I mean, another side we're kind of talking about is Blot Out. I think was people are talking about a lot. I mean, it's 3 mana as well, but it is a kind of little known aftermath card that your opponent has to sacrifice their creature or planeswalker with highest. Sorry, I think it's actually exiles their creature or planeswalker with the highest CMC they control. So
Yep.
they'd be locked.
the Googling.
Yeah, so they're locked into So target opponent exiles a creature or planeswalker they control with the greatest mana value on creatures planeswalkers they control. So they are locked into. So they can't just go, okay, I'll sack the sword. They have to pick the highest thing, right? So there's another good sideboard card for those of you who are looking for ways to beat the mirror matches or just beat the deck in general.
I mean, I think that it's not an unwinnable. Like, it just hit at the right moment, and I think it's going to keep
No,
hitting.
it is for sure a great meta call for the game. And I mean, once again, it's just essentially CFB just showing that, hey, the old guys can still hang. I will say it was really weird watching the Pro Tour and seeing Team Channel Fireball jerseys with big old TCG player patches on the sleeves.
Oh man.
Wait, what was on the sleeves?
The TCG player logo.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They've also just made all of the written CFB content free on TCG player.
Oh, that's right. It's a recent announcement. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Reed Duke is going to post something. Hopefully, you don't have Twitter, but if you do have Twitter or would like to re-download it, Reed Duke posted a thread where he was like, "Hey, these are all the coolest articles that I think you should read that are now free articles on CFB."
Yeah.
So check that out if you get the chance, because that does seem like a sweet one.
Yeah, very cool. All right. So, I mean, any other kind of closing thoughts here on Rakdos Vampires and the PT in general? What do you guys think?
A great Pro Tour.
Yeah. Super excited. It does feel like Pioneer's in a great place, to be honest with you. This is like super cool that technology's come out with Vamp. Who doesn't love a good vampires deck, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, first, people love Kithkins, right? You gotta love some Kithkins, and then you gotta love some vampires. At some point, everybody's played a vampire or two in their time, whether it be limited, right? Or whatever it might be, It's right up there with some of the great creature types. So I think that's super fun, right? I think it was funny to see the memes that came out. This is a top level meme Pro Tour as well. The memes that came out, whether it involves scooping to your opponent or how bad Rakdos Vampires is, and you're an idiot if you brought it before the Pro Tour started. There were so many fun things that came out as far as storylines for the weekend, some of which we got to talk about, some of which we didn't, if they weren't, fun and exciting. But I think this is like cool. Hopefully it got people interested in Pioneer again. That's kind of what I want to get you guys' thoughts. Is like, do you feel like this increased people's interest in Pioneer?
I think if
Definitely think
people,
so.
yeah, I think so. I think honestly, I think Pioneer's actually moving in a pretty good just direction as a lot more people become disenfranchised with Modern recently. So I think Pioneer's only looking up. I will say,
Expect
unfortunately,
those numbers to increase.
yeah, for sure. I will say we're not really going to get into it, but if anyone saw the air quotes leak of the Pioneer Challenger decks for next year, almost positive those are fake. Number one, those card previews for those decks looked way too good, and number two, they looked like Scryfall card images that were downloaded. So sorry, but I think those decks were fake.
Sure.
If they're workable, though, they would have been great Challenger decks. I tell you what, having a blue control that give you a Teferi and a Wandering Emperor,
I think it could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like those cards, right? Think about it. Kamigawa got extra life for an extra year of set, right?
Okay, yeah.
It's leaving print now.
Sure.
So who cares if we diminish all the value in it now, right?
True.
Let's ring it out, right?
Yeah.
We ain't coming back.
Mm-hmm.
It sold all the standard that it could sell. The booster fun has been had. So let's reprint it,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Maybe. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that will do it for this week. I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. As always, if you want to support the show, you can use our affiliate link over with our friends at TCG Player. Go support Team CFB as well by going to Crew3.com, Crew3MTG.com. That will redirect you to our affiliate link, TCG Player, which will apply our code. If you buy anything while using that link, we will get a nice little handy kickback, and you get the cards you want. If you want to support us more directly, you can go ahead and support us at patreon.com/Crew3MTG. Several tiers available. All those tiers do include access to the Patreon mailbag and some exclusive channels on our Patreon. Like I said, starting next week, I'm going to start doing polls on podcast topics. We've already had a great Patreon suggestion for a podcast topic as well, so we'll probably talk about that next week, and we'll get the polls going forward for all of our paid Patreon members. And like I said, so you get access to the Patreon mailbag. You can ask a question that sounds something just like this. This question comes from Rancor, who asks, what are your sleeves of choice?
Well, that's kind of easy.
Yeah?
Dragon Shield dual mats.
What color?
Fury and Ember are my two favorite ones.
I'm on Fury.
The Justice ones, the gunmetal ones.
Uh-huh.
Not a fan.
Which ones are the Ember ones? Are those the orange ones?
Yeah, they're the orange ones. The metallicing on it, right? Kind of dings up real easily.
Oh, yeah.
After a weekend of 2 RCQs, my control deck, honestly, I was looking at the cards and I'm like, these are probably marked now. And I don't have that problem with Fury and Ember colors, but the metallic colors seem to be like that. So
yeah. I also use Dragon Shield dual mats. I use Fury and Wraith colors generally. And then, of course, I also make... Huh? It's Wraith.
There's an eye?
I'm pretty sure there's an eye.
It's a purple color.
It is a purple color. It's Wraith.
They have that new purple that I'm actually excited to go buy some. The Truth or whatever.
Oh, yeah. And then, of course, I also make use of the Dragon Shield resealable inner sleeves.
Oh.
Got to use the resealables.
Those are hot. Ever since the Ultra Pro mats went away, my heart's been destroyed. So I used to believe in those as the best sleeves ever.
And I'm the hipster.
Yeah, I don't know. Dragon Shields have been letting me down when it comes to quality quite a bit. So I've heard good things about katanas, I guess.
I hate katanas.
Chris,
I'm going to tell you, I've used
Chris
them.
uses whatever sleeves we give him.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris over here just KMC Supers with copyright date 2007 are the only sleeves that I use.
Yeah.
The only sleeves for me.
Look, if I could find some old Formula Haruyas circa 2014, I remember when we did a $100 order for Haruya sleeves of just a bunch of them, and when I finally ran out of Haruya sleeves, I was sad because they're not the same sleeves anymore.
We used to use spoiled sleeves back in the day. Remember that?
Yeah. If I could find more of the Monopoly Money on My Mind sleeves to put all these foils in, that'd be great.
The what is it? There's the vlog of Yu-Gi-Oh players still trying to find the 2007 Players Choice Yu-Gi-Oh sleeves or whatever.
Yeah,
that haven't been made in factual decades now. And just whenever you find a pack, you buy them and you hoard them forever.
All right. Well, thank you, Rancor, for the question. We hope. Let us know what sleeves you'd like to use. Again, if you want to ask more questions like that, you can join us at patreon.com/Crew3MTG. And again, reminder that affiliate code Crew3.com will redirect you to TCG Player with our code applies. So you don't have to worry about remembering a big, messy URL. Gentlemen, that will do it for this week's episode. Where can people find you on socials?
Hey, you can find me on the Twitter, should you choose to use it, at its_Christmas, and Christmas has no T.
Ricky?
You can find me at also Steve, posting basically every day about anything Magic that I do. And I've been trying to keep One Piece talk low because I don't want to spoil anybody. But
also,
really
that The spoiler I posted.
I didn't read it. I didn't read it.
It's fake, so read it.
Oh, it's fake, so read it. Like I just don't know, you know.
It's fake. Read it. It's funny. Yeah. Well, of course, you can find me over at Crew3 Crew3 podcast over on Twitter. You can find us at youtube.com/Crew3MTG. Like I said, I posted Chris and Mai's preview of or recap of the Pro Tour. I posted a Delny deck list over there. Now that we're playing Vampires, I was going to post some Delny gameplay footage. We might play some Vampires. We might play some Spirits now. I'm not quite sure. And of course, after the move, unfortunately, the move is now going to get in the way of streaming. But hopefully soon I'll also be joining Ricky streaming over at twitch.tv/Crew3MTG there. So be sure to check out more content there. We have more great content coming out for you all. Thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.